Simon Mayo at Wentworth, Mark Kermode in Cannes.
Live from James King's Palace of Earthly Delights.
Alex Neve in East Dulwich says, having just seen the third instalment of this nauseating franchise, I can safely assure the listening public that there is not a single element that suggests to me that we won't be getting a full-on Kermodian-style rant of the century. Put away your eye patches, give up your rum bottles, turn your radios up to 11. It's going to be an absolute screamer. Mark, what did you think of the new Pirates movie?
Well, I think it's important to say that one has to go into these things with an open mind.
Yeah,
okay?
right.
No, I know. But look, okay. So, I mean, historically, the first Pirates movie was absolute bilge.
Wrong.
And ended up... No, it was rubbish. And it ended up taking like $1 billion worldwide, which was really, really terrifying. The second one was kind of worse because it was longer and it was a holding pattern because it went on for like 150 minutes and nothing happened. I mean, a bunch of stuff happened, but nothing actually happened. Just a bunch of stuff happened. And then when it came out on DVD, and I said to everybody, you know, you should boycott this movie. If this stuff does well, it's your own fault. Then it came out on DVD and I was told this terrifying fact that it was the fastest selling DVD of all time. Somebody, it may even have been you, said that on the day that it was released, 1 in 5 DVDs that were sold was Pirates of the Caribbean 2. So I had to go to Nice firstly, so I go to Nice to see, you know, in version original, and I'm really heartened because I get into the cinema, there's only 4 other people in the cinema. It's a 2 o'clock screening. Okay, admittedly it's an English screening in France, but there's quite a lot of English-speaking people in France. It was largely Americans in the 4, so you sit down, okay, think, okay, we're here for 168 minutes. Film starts off with a hanging sequence, a sequence in which a whole bunch of people are hanging, you know, including underage persons, but probably the most misjudged opening of any allegedly family-friendly movie I've seen in a long time. You're sitting there thinking, this is they've totally lost the plot. They've decided to go dark for the third Pirates movie. What on earth are they playing at? This is not something that needs to go dark. This is something that needs to lighten up a little. This is something that actually needs, you know, to be entertaining. But no, we have this really long, really sort of drawn out, really completely out of place hanging sequence at the beginning. And the BBFC guidelines, so I looked it up, says contains moderate horror and action adventure violence. We said contains, you know, completely inappropriate darkness at the beginning that is absolutely out of kilter with the rest of the film and has no right being there. Fine. So we get through that. Then, after the opening sequence, the plot, or more precisely, the plots start. And if you remember any of the plot threads that were at the end of Pirates of the Caribbean 2, it's like, oh, well, somebody's got to go off and find a heart, somebody's got to find an island, somebody's got to get a treasure map, somebody's got to get a compass, somebody's got to sing a song, somebody's got to stand on their head and turn around 38 times. That, or Blundo Lander's got to go and find his dad for some reason that's not clear to anybody, but other than the fact that Stellan Skarsgård is clearly picking up the check and he's a great actor, so I'm happy that he's employed. So, it starts. And it goes on a little bit, and I'm thinking, you know, I'm really dreading the moment that Johnny Depp's going to come on and do that Keith Richards impression that we all know wasn't funny the first time and really wasn't funny the second time. And here we go, he's going to do it the third time. And then the movie plods along with, you know, Keira Knightley and Orlando Bland and all the rest of it all happening, and no Johnny Depp. It's 35 minutes before Johnny Depp actually arrives on the screen. And I'm starting to think this is really clever, because what they've done is they've realised that Johnny Depp is so terrible in the film that they're withholding him. They're withholding him because actually everything else in the film is going to do better without him. But no, 35 minutes in, Johnny Depp turns up. But not just one Johnny Depp, 10 Johnny Depps turn up at the beginning. And there's a brilliant line in Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is referring to Arthur Dent meeting up with Hoojaman Flip, the Martin Freeman character, and he says he's one of those people that you couldn't see him for months at a time, and then as soon as you saw him, he was immediately annoying. And Johnny Depp in Pirates of the Caribbean 3 is exactly, but he's immediately annoying squared. He's immediately annoying to the power 10 because there are 10 of him. And there's a little bit of business about, oh, Johnny Depp's dead, but he's in the underworld. All this stuff seems to exist purely to show off the fact they've got a special effect that can turn a stone into a crab. Great, brilliant, marvellous, not enough to hang a feature film on, but hey, well done to the special effects guys. Then they escape from the underworld that he got into at the end of the last movie, because I think Keira killed him, but I can't quite remember. There was something to do with a kraken. And then they all get together and they say, okay, off we go on the various plot strands again, and it's business as usual. There's actually one line in this when somebody says one person has the 9th piece of 8, which is just about as coherent as any form of plot synopsis gets. On the IMDb trivia page, it says the most amazing thing about Pirates 3 is that they started filming without a completed script, No, they finished filming without a completed script, so they just ended up with like a montage of bits, a whole bunch of special effects, a little bit of him doing that, a little bit of everyone else, and they just stuck them together in any order, and they didn't cut any of it out. Just said, there's 168 minutes, shove it out into the cinema, and everyone will buy it because everyone has clearly had some kind of terrible, joint lobotomy, so that nobody any longer has the guts to stand up and say this is absolutely terrible and what we're doing here. Actually, we should walk out of the cinema and go next door where they're showing Zodiac. However, Johnny Depp leads to the problems. Let's start with Keira Knightley, because clearly Keira Knightley's agent has been speaking to the scriptwriters and saying, look, it's fabulous, we're really pleased that Keira's back in the movie again, obviously wonderful. The thing is, up until now, she has really been window dressing, and what we really think is that Keira needs to sort of expand her role, and why don't you make Keira a pirate, because I think really she could do pirates. So through the most ridiculous contrived plot device, Keira Knightley actually ends up being king of all pirates in all the world ever. So Keira Knightley, king of the pirates. This means that Keira Knightley has to do two things. Firstly, she has to do the pirate ha 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 ha. But of course, when Keira Knightley does it, it's like yeah, hello, ha 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 ha. Then she has to do a rabble-rousing speech, which is basically like that speech that Mel Gibson does in Braveheart about they can take our lives, but they can never take her freedom. Only when Keira Knightley does that speech, it basically sounds like the head girl addressing a convention of fifth formers on prize-giving day at the end of term. So Keira, disastrous, given more to do, messes it up terribly. And then we have the magisterial talent of Orlando Bland. Now, there has always been a problem with Orlando, which is that very early on, the script had a relationship between the Keira Knightley character and the Orlando Bland character. Nobody at that point realised that the minute you got Orlando Bland on screen, nobody would care what happened to him. He's so wet, he's so drippy, he's so completely ineffectual, nobody cares about him. So in the second one, there was this sort of attempt to make the Keira Knightley character somehow interested in the Johnny Depp character, because everybody else in the audience, other than me, was interested in the Johnny Depp character and kind of didn't care what happened to Orlando Bland. So this time, we have to, we have to take Orlando Bland, take some kind of interest in him. Now, he's acting this love interest against Keira Knightley. Now, Keira Knightley's acting has always been wooden. But this time it is like a petrified forest of woodenness. I mean, you really feel like you could build a very nice piece of IKEA furniture out of her performance. It's that bad. And when she and Orlando Bland are on screen together, it's like watching two chairs mating. I mean, there's a scene in which they have the kiss, and it's literally, what is that? Is that a nest of tables? No, it's Orlando Bloom and Keira Knightley having sort of some red-hot, passionate embrace that is positively tiki. I mean, you feel like you need to get out the varnish and varnish it. So two central characters. Now, I'm going to give away a plot point now. If you're going to sit through Pirates of the Caribbean at World's End, and never was a film more accurately named, turn your ears away from the radio now, because there is a moment towards the end of this film in which it is contrived to have Keira Knightley can get married to Orlando Bloom, but she can only see him for one day in every 10 years. I'm sorry. If somebody made me that offer, I'd take it right now. If somebody said to me, if I marry Orlando Bloom, you won't have to see him again for another 10 years, and when you do, it's like, do you take this man? Yes, absolutely. I will take him right now. If I only have to see him one day every 10 years, sign me up, because I don't think I can stand another moment of sitting there in the cinema watching this dribblesome bore, waltz around like somebody out of a milk tray advert. I mean, how on earth has he become the prominent actor that he has? I mean, he killed Kingdom of Heaven Stone Dead, and in this he's actually got worse than before. And then we have the mighty Johnny Depp performance. So Johnny Depp started off doing this performance as basically Keith Richards, although actually he wasn't really doing Keith Richards as far as I can tell. He seemed to be doing David Bowie around the period of The Laughing Gnome. Everyone says, oh, it's a great impression of Keith Richards, but it did sound like David Bowie, hello, I'm the Pirate King, Jack Sparrow. That's not Keith Richards, that's David Bowie. But the big gag with Pirates of the Caribbean 3 is, guess what? Keith Richards is actually going to turn up. So you sit there and you fall asleep and you wake up and you fall asleep and you stretch your back a little bit and you feel most of your lower body starting to go numb, and then about 2 hours the way through, Keith Richards turns up, and here's how it goes. Keith Richards goes, and Johnny Depp goes, and Keith Richards goes, if you thought Johnny Depp was bad at being Keith Richards, you should see Keith Richards trying to be Keith Richards. I mean, there was a ripple of sort of appreciation in the audience, which, as far as I could tell, was entirely for the fact that Keith Richards was still alive at all. But he's even worse at doing an on-screen Keith Richards than Johnny Depp is. And between them, this sort of, incredible in-joke about, oh, it's so funny, up until now I've been doing Keith Richards, now here he actually is. It's like, no, all of you, the Rolling Stones don't care, go away. I mean, I never want to see the Rolling Stones. I don't want to ever see another Pirates of the Caribbean movie, despite the fact that at the end of this, there is a door left open for there to be another one. The whole thing goes on forever. I added this up, right? First movie 142 minutes, second movie 150 minutes, this 168 minutes. I make that the best part of 8 hours of my life. Stanley Kubrick went from the beginning of civilization to, you know, the dawn of a new breed of human being in just over 2 hours. This has taken them 8 hours to get from point A to point A. It's enough. It has to stop now. And really, if you go, you know, if you pay money to go and see Pirates of the Caribbean, it's your own fault, and you're bringing down the collapse of Western civilization. And I had it feeling in my waters that actually Gore Verbinski was going to pull it out of the bag and do something that would make me have to say I'm wrong. But you know what? I am so right.